Hello everybody and welcome back to another Oscar prediction video where today I will be taking a look at the category of Best Sound. So this is the first video I'm doing after the BAFTA Awards have happened, which helped clarify a few things, but a lot of things are still very much up in the air. And usually I would have a lot more to say, but it is very late at the time I'm recording this, so I'm going to try to get this over with as quickly as possible so that I can go to bed. Best Sound is a category that seems to have a pretty clear-ish frontrunner. There might potentially be room for an upset, but... oh, it's complicated. Well, let's just look at the nominees. Fifth most likely to win is The Wild Robot.
Hello, bonjour.
Guten Tag, Ujambo. Hola. Congratulations on your purchase of a Universal Dynamics robot.
So, I have to give credit where it's due. It's not that often these days that I get to pat the Academy on the back for doing something cool, and this is really one of those times. Because, I did not think that this movie was a legitimate possibility to be nominated. It was not suspected to make the shortlist. I thought that was the pleasant surprise, and this nomination is really, really cool. The Academy tends not to nominate animated films in this category. I believe this is only the second non-Disney or Pixar film to be nominated for sound, following The Polar Express. And animated movies really should be nominated in sound much more often. Because unlike in a live-action movie, where a sound can potentially be recorded on set, and at the very least you have a solid foundation to build off of, every single sound you hear in an animated movie has to be created from scratch. And when you consider everything that's in this movie, from the robotic sounds to the animal sounds, the nature sounds with the storms and the fire, the machine gun sounds and like the lasers in the finale, what they do to Lupita Nyong'o's voice to make it sound more robotic, it's just, there's so much work that went into this film. And this is a really, really well-deserved nomination. Honestly, I might be tempted to vote for it for the win, if I'm being totally honest with you. But it's not going to win. A couple of reasons. This is the only non-Best Picture nominee in the category. And the last time that a non-Best Picture nominee won for sound was Skyfall back in 2012. And you can argue that that would have been a Best Picture nominee in a field of 10. But more prominently, the Academy has only ever awarded an animated movie for sound once, that being The Incredibles. And I don't see them going for it in this category. I think the anti-animation bias is still very real, and every other movie in this category is up for Best Picture. So this is a very, very cool nomination. I would love it if it somehow managed to win, but I really don't think that's going to happen. Fourth most likely to win is Emilia Perez. So, in a world where Emilia Perez was still in contention to win Best Picture, I would be saying seriously watch out for this as a upset contender in this category. But that is no longer the world we are living in. This movie has fallen fast in many, many categories, and yet I'm still kind of keeping an eye on it in a lot of categories as a place where it could potentially win. What's so frustrating about Emilia Perez is, as bad as the movie is, every single craft element that it's nominated in, you can understand how the nomination happened because it manages to appeal to that specific branch. And this movie is a musical, and the songs themselves are mixed okay, And there are some moments where the sound design really does stand out. The moment that I included is near the end of the film when the characters are cocking their guns and it has sort of a musical feel to it. A lot of people who have criticized the movie have always been like, yeah, but that one moment with the guns is pretty cool. I wish there were more moments like that in the movie. So it is possible that some voters are just thinking of that one specific moment when they check out their ballot. But there are other musical contenders that are Best Picture nominees in the race. And I do feel like Emilia Perez is the least flashy out of all of them. And the movie is very quickly losing any momentum that it once had. So I still rank it above The Wild Robot because it is a Best Picture nominee, and there are some people I feel that are still gonna check it off in certain categories, but hopefully this is not a category that we have to worry about it actually winning. Third most likely to win is Wicked.
Yes, the Wicked Witch of the West is dead.
So I've seen a few people who are pretty confident that this can win the Oscar, and I do understand where they're coming from. This movie did get 10 nominations. It's very well liked. It is a musical, which historically they do well in this category. And in addition to mixing the songs well, there are also some big sound effecty moments with the flying monkeys, with the magic that happens in the film. So the sound is definitely a showcase element from the film. So I do understand that mentality. And yet, for some reason, it just feels like a weird winner to me, because I don't really know if there's any other winners I can compare it to. When I think of other musicals that have won, and the last musical that won was Les Mis, which was solely focused on the singing. La La Land people thought would win, but it didn't. And I guess before Les Mis, Chicago was the last, or did Dreamgirls win? I forget. I think it's been a while since a musical won, and you could also argue it's been a while since we had a musical as beloved as Wicked. But we also have, we have two musicals in this category. We have a music-heavy film that we're going to get to in a minute. And I don't know, it just feels weird for there to be a movie that has both music elements and sound effect elements with flying monkeys and magic and stuff, because it's like a weird combination of things. I don't know how many people are coming out of Wicked saying the sound was such a big part of what made the movie work. If anything, I've heard some people say that the sound was too quiet. Even when getting the clip that I got for you, there is a part of me that feels like, wait, are those opening notes, those iconic opening notes of the overture, do they feel a little muted to you? Like, I did not touch that dial. It feels like there's a little bit more muted than they are on the soundtrack. So it is a little bit weird for me. I don't know. I just don't know if the sound, while it's a perfectly okay element of the film, I don't know how many people are going to want to go out of their way to reward it, even if they do love Wicked overall. So I understand why people are going for it, but I personally don't think it's very likely. Second most likely to win is A Complete Unknown.
I don't believe you. Play loud. Once upon a time, you're just so fine. You're the bumper dime in your prime. In you.
So I'm sure that some of you are probably a little surprised that I'm ranking this above Wicked. But here's the thing, my mind keeps flashing back to Bohemian Rhapsody and how that movie won both sound categories, and it really did not deserve to, but there's something about the music biopic that Oscar voters just eat up. Granted, Elvis didn't win, but that was up against Top Gun Maverick. That was a big sound-ish movie, and with this movie, the Oscar voters just love it. 8 nominations is a lot for a film like this. It got into Best Director, and I just can't shake the feeling that they're gonna want to give it something. I don't know, maybe that's, I just feel like I don't want to underestimate this movie. I feel like it would be a mistake to say, oh, it's not gonna win because it's not that good. Even in a category like this where, yes, the musical sequences are mixed nicely, I guess, but there's nothing in it that would really make me feel like, oh yeah, that's Oscar-worthy work. And I'm hoping that other voters feel the same, but I just can't shake the feeling like this could win. Now, what's tricky is that we have 3 music-heavy movies between this, Wicked, and Emilia Perez. And with all 3 of those movies, there's going to be a lot of attention on how the songs themselves were mixed. And in my personal opinion, I don't really feel like one of these films stands out more than any of the other. Which is why, even though I think this is the correct ranking to have them in, I ultimately don't have any of them winning. And I think the movie that is going to win, number 1 most likely, is Dune Part 2. So I will be the first to admit I had my doubts. When this movie got 5 Oscar nominations, I was like, what the heck is going on? I know that it was a long time ago, almost a year ago at this stage, and so many other things have come out, and we did already reward the first one, but still, 5 Oscar nominations is very low for a film that is this technically impressive on every conceivable level. And it is really, really frustrating. But then I had to ask myself the question, okay, what is it winning? Is it still winning visual effects? I have to imagine it's still winning visual effects. But then can it still win sound? That one seemed a little more up in the air, especially because Wicked got 10 nominations, A Complete Unknown got 8 nominations, Emilia Perez got 13. All of these music-heavy movies really overperformed. So is it possible that one of them could come up from behind and take the vote? Well, outside of the fact that I think they're all potentially splitting votes with each other, this movie is still well-loved. I mean, not as well-loved as the first movie, not as well-loved as many of us would like, but 5 nominations is not nothing. A Best Picture nomination is not nothing. And this movie won the 2 main precursors, which were Critics' Choice and BAFTA. And for what it's worth, I believe it also won Motion Picture Sound Editing, or whatever that guild is called. So, this movie does have all the guild support it needs to win. And I do believe that the sound work in the film is impressive enough to give it the win. If you want to compare it to something like Return of the King, The Two Towers, the middle Lord of the Rings movie, yes, it did underperform. It didn't do nearly as much as Fellowship did, but Two Towers did win 2 Oscars, one for visual effects and one for sound. And Dune seems to be heading in a very similar direction. What it does on a sonic level, especially when you see it in the big screen, with a giant sound system, it feels so massive. And there really is no comparison. I think on a sheer merit level, we're all rooting for Dune to win this. I mean, it's very close between Dune and Wild Robot, I must personally admit, and it's been a while since I saw Dune, so maybe if I watched it again, I'd feel differently. Personally, I think that Dune is what a lot of people want to win, and all of the major precursors are suggesting that it will win, and if Dune was just going up against one music-heavy film, then I would have my doubts, but it's going up against 3, and I do think some people don't think that vote splitting is real, but I think there is something to be said for it. When you've got this many music films competing for each other, Even if Dune has been shown to be weak in other categories, I see no reason to believe that it's weak in this particular category. So, while I'm not 100% confident in it, I feel mostly confident that I can say, as of right now, I do believe Dune Part 2 is winning Best Sound. So thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for listening to it as well. And tune in tomorrow where I will be taking a look at the category of Best Original Score. See you then.